Hello, Facebook Live. It's Terry Joe. Can you hear me? Is anyone out there? I'm going to go ahead and keep talking, hoping that somebody will watch this replay later. So I'm sharing my second teaser for the Inner Trio Connection course that I'm doing starting October 28th. And it's the second version of the course I'm doing. I'm really excited about it. And so I wanted to I'm going to do hopefully a 10-minute talk on what the Inner Trio Connection is and why it's significant, why it makes a difference. And good morning. And so the first thing I want to ask is questions for you to just ponder. There are 3 questions. And the first one is, have you ever questioned the meaning of life? Things like why you're here, what's your purpose, does any of this matter, does what you do matter, does who you are, is that, who are you actually, and what are you here to contribute? Any of those kind of philosophical, deep, reflective questions. And so I would say raise your hand if you've ever questioned them, or shout out a like or something. And then the second set of questions is, have you ever felt lost, alone, afraid, confused, just really in a challenging situation that you didn't know how to get out of, or, it really kind of stopped you in your tracks and you didn't know what to do? So both of those questions, I'm guessing we could all relate to in some way. Yes, hi, Ashley, I see that. That's great. I think we all are, actually. If we're aware enough, we can see that we're healers. That's what she said. And we heal ourselves first, and then that's how we can help others. So anyway, what I want to say is the third question I want to ask is, have you ever been able to help someone through a crises? Have you ever been to give advice or just hold space, give encouragement, support, wisdom with a friend or a family member that's been going through something really challenging? And oftentimes it's literally just holding space for them that's the most significant and the most helpful. So I'm sure all of you would be able to answer that you've been able to help someone through their troubling situation. So why is it that we can't help ourselves through a challenging situation? Well, the reason for that is because we haven't developed yet the skill on how to be objective, how to disidentify or over-identify, I should say, with the troubling situation and be able to hold space for ourselves while we work through something. So this practice that I'm doing, hi people, friends, family, so good to see you. So this practice that I've been doing on and off for 9 years is called, I've called it a lot of different things, but basically I call it my trio. And for this course, I'm calling it the Inner Trio Connection. And it really relates to the mind, body, soul connection, mind, heart, soul connection. The body's there too, but the body really just houses the mind, heart, and soul. So I don't work with it a lot, although I do recommend a lot of embodiment work, which is movement and breath and presence and a lot of that stuff. But what I'm working with in the trio is specifically the mind, heart, and soul. And in our culture, the mind is really revered. It's very celebrated. It takes precedence often more than the heart does. And it's dangerous because if we're only living in one part of ourselves, we can't see the big picture. And I'm going to give you a little example of this, of the mind is really can be likened to what we've been conditioned into in this world. So we learn cultural norms, we learn social norms, we learn things in our family that are the way we should behave to be part of the tribe, not necessarily good things or bad things, but they're just behaviors we adopt. And then over time, we habituate patterns in our life. And that becomes the conditioned mind. And it's also known as the personality or the ego. It's not a bad thing, but there's a really wonderful quote that I love that says, the mind is a terrible master, but a wonderful servant. So the mind should not be leading us, but most of us live and operate from the mind, which is also what advertisers count on and anyone who's trying to influence. News media counts on it. Politics counts on it. They count on us living from that reactionary mind, which I'll get into in a minute, because the emotion part is the reaction, and mind and heart are super connected. But if you don't know about your heart, if you don't know about your emotional world, if you don't know how to navigate it, which, let's be honest, most of us were not taught how to navigate our emotional worlds as children, which is my big, if I were to pick a thing I'd teach in school, it'd be completely social and emotional wellness and health, because we are living in a world of adults that don't know how to handle conflict. We don't know how to negotiate. We don't know how to compromise. We don't know how to collaborate. I'm being general here, of course. Some of us personally know how to do it, and we try our best. But if you go to a committee meeting, you'll see very clearly that we never learned the skills of how to be socially aware and emotionally connected to each other. And that's why people don't like to be parts of committees, because there's too much tension and there's too much stress. So I'm getting a little off course here. But what I want to say is the mind is very celebrated, and so much so, especially in the United States culture, that we disregard the emotion, or we disregard what I call the child self, which I feel is pure emotion, pure innocence, pure like living in the moment. But the child self feels and responds to life through emotion. And then we demonize it in a way, and are told to grow up, man up, put our big girl panties on, like basically not feel. We're taught that. And then there's still this emotion inside that doesn't have any place to go. So then it comes out in all these ways that are unhealthy. And also it's when addictions develop. Addictions develop because we're pushing down feelings. So you don't smoke or drink or do any of that. I mean, some of it, people do it because they want to experiment with it and they think it's fun, but eventually it just soothes us. It feels good. It stops the emotion. It stops the pain. It stops the sadness. It stops the fear. And so we pick up those things to contain or control our emotions, because we're taught emotions are bad, and they're not. It's a really powerful feedback system, the emotions. So again, I could talk forever about this stuff. I love it. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see you guys. But what I want to share is, so the mind is very celebrated. We know what the mind is, right? It's conditioned. We learn, we go to school, we read books, we take classes, we get smarter, we learn about certain subjects, we get smarter in that area, we get information. We are in a technology age, a digital age, where you can find anything you want to know on the computer, right? The emotions, I feel, are neglected and misunderstood. So what I've done in this practice, so let me get to what the practice is. It's the mind, heart, soul connection. The best way to start the practice is through using 3 chairs, or if you're a writer, through using 3 voices in your writing. And I do it a few other ways now that are a little more simple and easy to do on the go. But when you start the practice, I highly recommend the chairs. So in the class, I'm going to teach all about it. But basically, there's a chair for the personality to speak, a chair for the inner child or the heart to speak, and a chair for the soul or the higher self to speak. And what I want to share also about the mind and the heart is that's not enough. The 2 forces is not enough. The reason why we have polarity and duality in the world and all the fighting is because of 2 sides, the heart and the mind. So they're going at it, the conservatives and the bleeding heart liberals, right? They're just like, you don't care about people, and you don't care about, I don't know what conservatives care about, because it doesn't feel, it's sensitive to me. But you don't care about keeping things the same, I guess, is what they want. And we're like, we want change. We want a better world. We want more caring in the world. We want to take care of each other. And they're like, we don't want to give our money to that. We worked hard for it. I guess that's maybe an example. I don't want to get political here. But that polarity is very strong, as we can all feel. But we're missing the 3rd force. And the 3rd force is everywhere in nature. If you think about it, to the smallest atom, there is a proton, there's an electron, and there's a neutron. And in all kinds of scientific things, which clearly you can tell I'm not scientific because I don't even know how to talk about it. There's an affirming force, a denying force, and there's a reconciling force. I often will liken the trio to the Holy Trinity. Whether you're religious or not, I've always loved that concept of Father, Son, Holy Spirit, or Mother, Daughter, Holy Spirit. I think even in marriage and relationship, you can't have the husband and wife, or the wife and wife, or husband and husband. you have to have the third force, which is love itself, or spirit infusing the relationship. So the triangle is really where the power is. And if you just have the two, you're going to have friction, because they're polar. There's a polarity there. So it's really powerful to find your higher self. And the thing about the higher self is, people will talk about it, oh, my higher power this, or spirit this, or God that, which is great. But how many of you literally invite into your actual conversation where you hear this higher self speak to you on a daily basis? See, for me, it wasn't enough to just sit in meditation or sit in prayer. I needed to have something more active for me to understand. So what I started doing, and I actually learned this particular process in the master's program I went to in spiritual psychology at University of Santa Monica. It's called Gestalt. It's very popular in psychology, where you talk to various parts of yourself, or you can also talk to other people if you want to put them in the chair and you speak to them back and forth. It's an incredibly powerful technique. And also in the University of Santa Monica, I learned about that we all have an inner counselor or inner guide. That's what I refer to as my higher power, my soul. And you can go to it anytime for wisdom. And so that's what we started doing, in writing papers and doing these Gestalt counseling. So eventually I turned the practice, my own practice, because my child self really wanted to be part of this, my emotions. And it became this trio, where we take any situation we have in our life that's troubling us, and we talk it through, right? Or any vision we have that we want to accomplish in the world, some sort of project we want to do, and we talk it through. It's an incredible process that I think I said I've been doing for 9 years, on and off. When I divert from the process and I don't do it, and I think, oh, my life is great, I don't need it, oh my gosh, like, things do not end up going well. When I come back to the practice, and it could be a 5-minute conversation, usually it's about a 15 to 20-minute conversation every day. Anytime I've ever gone to the trio, things have been resolved. Anytime. Like, there has never been a time that I've gone there and not come away feeling more relieved. I may not get the exact answer at that time, but I will get the self-soothing, the comfort, the support, the love, it's going to be okay. We're here for you. We're watching over you. That's the soul, the spirit that's speaking. And often for me, it speaks in a we, because I think it's a team of angelic support. And I think all of us have access to that, but you have to cultivate the relationship. And when I first started doing this practice was in 2010, when I moved back from Mexico, and I was I was in this place where I didn't know what to do with my life next. And I heard the higher self say, come to me every day in writing. And I started going to it, and it just really held my hand. And what it told me was, I was doing the practice in writing. I had to come every day as if we were dating, because you can't just automatically have intimacy and connection with a partnership that's deep and trustworthy, because you can't have instant connection with people. I'm sure many of you have experienced that, but that's a trustworthy, solid, foundational relationship without actual connection and without communication and communion. So I had to do this writing practice every day, because it was building that relationship. We were dating, right? And getting to know each other. And then in came the child self, which I'd also work with in a lot of psychological programs I was in. So I was very familiar with the child self, but basically she was just like, hey, I want to be included in this too, because I have a voice. I don't want to just have the adult Terry Joe and the higher self talking, which again can create polarity. So the third force, right? And the interesting thing in the trio is, it's not like the higher self has all the wisdom. Terry Joe's been on planet Earth for 53 years. She has some wisdom about planet Earth. The child self is in its innocence and purity and curiosity and creativity, and it has lots of things to share that are powerful. And at first, it may be some painful things that you'll have to walk through with it. And it also has a lot of misunderstandings, because when we're little and life hurts and pain happens, if we don't have conscious parents that can explain it to us, and even if we have the most conscious parents in the world, they can't explain everything to us, because we're still going to interpret it the way we do. What we do when we're little is we make up stories. I'm not good enough. I'm not popular enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm stupid, I can't do anything right. And this will be a reflection of if our friends reject us, if our mom yells at us, if our dad doesn't, if our dad leaves. Those kinds of things can be really, even little things we can take inside and turn against ourselves. And that's how this whole um, in my experience, that's how mental illness gets seeded and started, is our own turning against ourselves when we're very young. And it's because we don't know any better and we don't have someone conscious enough to guide us. Now, I do think parents are really waking up to this and they're being more conscious. And the biggest thing parents can do to help their children is work on themselves. If you want to help your children, stop trying to control the child and work with the aspects of yourself that don't have discipline, that need guidance, that need emotional release, that need support. That's your own inner child. Your child's going to reflect to you anything that's unresolved in yourself. So any behavior that you're trying to control and fix in them, turn inside and say, where in me is that going on? And then start working on that. That's where the liberation is. And then your child will see you demonstrating the healing qualities or the self-reflective qualities, their emotional qualities. I mean, you could let them see that you're doing the trio and they'd probably think that was really cool if you explained it to them what it was. And even though they won't have the 3 parts developed yet because they won't have the adult self, they could talk to their future self, right? I don't know where this is coming from. We're just talking off the cuff, right? It's Facebook Live. But they can also talk to they can talk to spirit. And children really can come into this really naturally because they connect to the spiritual realm if it's nurtured in their home. So I think that's all I want to say today for this Facebook Live. I'm going to do another one next week. This class is 6 weeks. It's daytime. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. On Monday mornings. I'm super excited. I'm doing a nighttime class right now. I love it. The people in it are I think we're all just having so much fun and learning so much and then developing the practice for ourselves, right? And the other thing I want to share is it's only $189 if you sign up by next Monday. And that's like a super great deal. This is the beta. It's like the example class. I'm testing the material. I'd love to see you in it. And that also includes a coaching session with me, a private coaching session with me. And there's a Facebook group we do where we share stuff and it's super cool. So if you're interested, you can PM me or email me. I'll post the link to the class information in the comments of this video. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a beautiful, blessed day. And just know you are blessed and you are loved and you are loved. Okay. I love you.